Hi everyone, and welcome to our Autumn 2024 Vision Talk. And we thought we'd do things a little bit differently this time. So what I've done is I've assembled our wonderful set of site pastors together with me, and we're going to talk through some of what's going on our sites. You may remember at the beginning of the year, we talked about this idea of the life cycle of the sites and where they were all at. And really this sense as we're coming out of COVID and the whole season of COVID of like positioning ourselves for what God is doing. And a whole lot of different things that we wanted to do on our sites. And in January, they were all very conceptual. Now, as we get into September, October, actually those things, some of them have happened and some of those are about to happen. And it's just really exciting to see how far we've come in the past season. So we're actually recording this on the Tuesday before the Sunday when this goes out. We have once a month as a staff team, we all get together on a Tuesday, and this is that Tuesday. So we're upstairs in the Kerith Centre lounge. You may hear people going around, you may hear the phones going off and all sorts of stuff. We have no way of doing all of that, but we couldn't all fit in the studio, so we thought this was a much better place to be. So let's get into it. Hi, everyone.
Hi, Simon.
Hi. Hi. Before we get any further, I just want to say that Leon is desperate to go to the Oasis concerts. And let's be real, if anyone has any Oasis tickets, they would be very much appreciated.
Let's get this out viral.
Yeah.
The country.
Yeah, share this video with everyone. And if anyone can help Leon with that, that would, give us a very happy Windsor site pastor. But seriously, I am so proud of this team. And, I think back to the days when we were just one site and I led that site and just the pressure of that and to now know that you're handling all of that and living with all that. But, it's just amazing how God has blessed us with leaders, at site level and then across the church. And, so proud of each one of you, what you bring, what you're doing, how you're just growing God's kingdom amongst us. So let's dive in. So last Sunday, one of the very exciting first steps in the growth of our vision happened, in that Bracknell has gone, actually for the third time in its life.
Yeah.
So it did it once when we were in Wickhill Hall, way back, before I was part of Kerith in the mid-80s, I think. And then once when I took over leading the church, and then post-COVID again, has gone to 2 morning meetings. And Becky and Palumi are still standing.
No.
Or sitting anyway.
Tuesday morning.
Tell us a little bit about how it went.
Well, it was brilliant because all through the year, that's one thing that we've been thinking about doing. And we've been basically telling the rest of the team that, we need to get people signed up to serve on these 2 meetings. And I think as part of that, we've been talking to everybody about the kind of culture we want to build and the very fact that we know that God doesn't want us to be focused on just getting people to get tasks done, but he's really concerned more about loving them and us loving each other. So that was part of the drive right from the beginning. And then last Sunday, just to see people actually step forward and, actually get committed and actually be doing this in our kids' teams, just seeing the buzz, people signing in, coming in to worship and worshiping together before actually going off to their kids' groups and just seeing the beautiful ways in which people were just interacting with each other. It was just a delight to actually see this come to fruition. And we're just really, really grateful for where we are right now. This is only just the beginning because, culture takes a long time to build. But just seeing that really, really come to fruition has really been a delight for us.
It's been great. We just did the numbers this morning, and we think we had over 160 people. 660 people. Not 100. 660 people in the building, which we would just not have done for one meeting. So we know the start of September is always busy for church life, so we knew we had to kind of go in September, and it just kind of proved it, didn't it? It was brilliant. The 11:30 was smaller, but we had this. Downstairs was pretty full, which was we were like, wow. And then all these interactions at the end of the meeting that you just wouldn't have got in the busy meeting that we'd have had if we'd had everyone in the building for one meeting. So it was just the beginnings of these friendships made, community, praying for one another. It was mad on Sunday. It was mad. And we had donuts, which was obviously super important. That there was a little funny joke because a load of the host team were running up to us going, what do we do? The 9:30 are eating all the donuts. They're eating the 11:30's donuts. And we were like, got to hide the donuts. So there was all this conversation about where do we hide the donuts? So just things that will be, in the midst of time we'll think, oh, that was funny. But it was just, you know, the reality of just having lots of people with us. So yeah, it was really good.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, and it was really beautiful because the other thing too that we're really passionate about is seeing the families get involved. So kids, intergenerationally serving, not just seeing them in worship, but actually being involved on teams too. And that's one thing that we've really been talking about all through the year. And just to see that, because we even had this funny thing happen on Sunday morning where one of our worship leaders wasn't even able to lead. And then she called her daughter, who is, an older teenager. And without being in rehearsals the week before and all, she just came up and she led. And it was beautiful because leading with kids and leading all the actions and all
Yeah.
that, it was just beautiful.
really good. Yeah.
Yeah.
And just, I mean, she's been leading the youth band, so you just feel like that legacy of, you know, getting those younger generations really passionate and confident in their own space. So then when they, you know, we ask them to come into another space, they're like, yeah. I mean, much better on the actions than any of us. So it was good.
Yeah, it was.
So that's wonderful. I mean, you know, the whole goal was around creating space, wasn't it?
Yeah.
You know, space for people to serve, space for community to grow, and space for new people to come. And you really saw all of those things happening this Sunday.
Yeah.
Sounds like.
Yeah.
And then Dan, you've just, well, by the time this goes out, you will have done your first public. But the Sunday just gone, you did a dress rehearsal. Tell us how that went on the island and what you've been doing.
Yeah, so we, at the beginning of the year, we talked about wanting to move where we were meeting to a more central island location. And so this Sunday just gone on the 8th, we met for the first time just as a team. So we just gathered our Sunday teams together to worship and pray together in the school that we're going to be meeting in Carisbrook CFE Primary School. It was brilliant. It was really just such an encouraging morning, like so good to gather people together and have coffee and explore the space a little bit, and then just really pressing into to prayer and to worshiping God in that space, to welcoming the Holy Spirit there, and inviting Him and just being open to what He's going to do. It was a really exciting time, and we did some practical stuff as well, just trying to work out some of the niggles and like bits and pieces that find out any of the hiccups and stuff with the space, obviously being in there for the first time properly. So we've got some of them sorted, but there'll be plenty more to come, I'm sure. So, but yeah, it was just great, and I was just super proud of the team coming together, and really encouraged to see people like just leaning in, like who got the vision, you can see where we're going, see what God's doing, and wanting to press into His presence and into prayer and for what He's going to do through us as the church there. It's just really exciting.
So what are you excited about in this new space? What do you think you're going to be able to do that didn't happen when we were in West Wight?
I think it's going to be a great space for us, like generally for Sundays, but I think the main thing for us is wanting to be somewhere where people can easily come, like where people can easily get to from across the island. You know, we found that the majority of people have been coming to us like for 20 to 40 minute drive to come over to Freshwater, which is amazing, but we want to be more accessible to people from wherever they live on the island, and this is a brilliant space for that. We've got the main hall that we can use for the adult space, and a staff room for the youth, which is going to be lovely as well. And then we've also got there's like a family centre. Bernardo's run this family centre just across the car park, which we're going to be using for the children's spaces, which is lovely as well. Just some really nice spaces. They've been really generous to us, like the school and the family centre, in like letting us use the spaces, but also some of their equipment and stuff as well. So it's really good.
Is this where you see yourself sort of long term, Dan, this location and this venue?
I think it's a great stepping stone for us. Like, it's going to be a great place to be, to start meeting in the sort of centre of the island. I don't know how long we'll be there for, and we've got a big vision and exploring some really exciting opportunities to expand what we do, looking at some midweek spaces, and we've talked before about warehouses, and we found a plot of land that we're like just intrigued by and all that sort of stuff. So there's lots of exciting things that we're just sort of just gently pushing those doors on that will be much more sort of long term, that aren't going to just happen all of a sudden. It's not going to be a quick thing, but this is a great space for us for now, and excited to sort of see what's next, including hopefully something soon in terms of like a midweek space that we can use as well. So Yeah, looking forward to sort of
In,
seeing.
in that location, sort of the same residential area that you are now.
That's right, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, we're based in Carisbrooke now, which is just on the outskirts of Newport. There's a big housing estate there that spans all the way from right on the edge, like at Gunville, all the way through down into the centre of Newport. So it's a great location. There's loads and loads of like families and people with all sorts of different backgrounds and stuff in that area. So a great place to be based, I think, for now. So yeah, it's exciting. Yeah.
And the big question, Dan, we have been Kerith West Wight for 5 years.
That's right. Yeah.
What are we now called?
Yeah, so we're going to be Kerith Isle of Wight, which is just reflects, I guess, where people are coming from. Like, you know, we're not just based in one specific area. We're a church that is scattered and gathered. You know, we gather together on Sundays, but we scatter across the island back to our homes and our communities and our workplaces and stuff as well. So yeah, we're going for Kerith Isle of Wight to reflect that really. So yeah. Yeah.
Wow. By the time people watch this, we'll have done the first public
We will.
gathering
Yeah.
this coming Sunday.
Sunday the 15th, yeah. We'll
And
look on it,
yeah, just so excited. I've got the privilege of being there.
Yes,
And we shall
good.
see what God does in that space.
Yeah, it's exciting.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Now, Leon. Yeah. First of all, Leon's just finished his last WTC residential. And 6 years ago, we started together, didn't we? I started on a graduate diploma and you started on a, well, not sure if you knew it was going to be a BA at that point, but a certificate in higher education, which is the first 2 years of it. I've just done the last one of those residentials. I just want to say, Leon, just well done. You know, the investment that you've made in yourself and, you know, just watch you grow so much through engaging, and you've never really done anything that academic before, but you've really just been, Do you want to just tell us a little bit about that before we get into the site? And
No, like you say, when I first started out on the journey, I guess in the back of my mind, I was kind of hoping I'd go on and do the BA, but I didn't want to put that sort of pressure on myself because I'd never written an essay before, wasn't an academic, and just started out, and WTC were just amazing with the support they give you. They've got a big study skills module that helps you know how to write essays and just walks you along on that journey. So yeah, I mean, me, yourself, and Heather started on a thing. So I didn't probably think that was going to be 6 years, but so no, I've done 6
He
years.
lost all his hair in that time.
That was way gone, even before then. The beard's got greyer, definitely. But no, it's been obviously hard, but it's been, I'd say it's been personally transformational in terms of like how I lead and just the insights and the perspectives I have now through doing it. And just it causes you to wrestle with lots of stuff. So no, I'm really thankful for it, and I'm really looking forward to finishing it at the same time. So I've got 3 essays and a dissertation to write, and I'm done.
wonderful. Well, I just want to say I'm just so impressed, and you know, just seeing the quality of how God has transformed you through it, and obviously like Plumie, you're now doing a graduate diploma, 2nd year of that.
Yes, I am.
And we're just trying to get as many of the team through that sort of theological exercise. To watch out, Becky, and
Yeah, so
you know, Sonia. Dan's already got a degree in theology, so he'll be doing the masters. So well, no, just brilliant. Just want to encourage. You know, one of the things we want to do is go deeper in our theological knowledge. We want to be people of the Word and the Spirit, and we want to be deep in both of those, and that means us doing the hard work. And yeah, that is part of like how we're engaging as a community. So, on the site, 6 years old.
Yes,
And,
6 years this Sunday.
Yeah, and I mean, incredible. Think what we've achieved and what you've achieved, what the team there have achieved in 6 years. You know, you turn up now and it feels something that's so solid, and we're doing, you know, seeing people get married on the site and all sorts of stuff. Start the year we talked about a coffee bar.
Yeah.
Tell us about where that's got to.
So yeah, I mean that's all installed. It's up and running on a Sunday. So if you want a nice barista,
Like proper coffees, isn't it?
barista coffee being made on a Sunday by the team there, and more people getting trained up. Some of our youth are getting trained up and serving on there as well. So that's all operating on a Sunday. So the next thing is to start looking at ways we can open it out during the week to the local public. So we're having conversations with people that are interested in maybe starting out as a business, their own business, but also get the vision and the ministry behind it as well. So we're kind of planning on going visiting other churches around the area and up north that are in kind of similar settings but have done it successfully in terms of a successful business but a successful ministry as well, sort of like in terms of reaching a local community. Our heart is it's going to be a hub of social justice where people can find support both inside the church and get signposted to local stuff that's going on outside of the church, perhaps in other churches or the local authority. And we just see that there's a massive thing with loneliness now in terms of like especially through the pandemic, and lots of people are working from home, and we see lots of the pubs shut in and stuff like that. So you feel like people have got a lot of relational poverty, and that goes for people in the church as well. So if we can create a space that people could come to during the week where they can find support, build relationships, and obviously our ulterior motive behind all of that is that people one day come into a relationship with Jesus and come to know him. But that's what God does. We're just trying to create an environment.
Which really is what we're doing across all the sites, is just creating those spaces where people can encounter God, isn't it? Yeah, if anyone hasn't been to Windsor and seen the coffee bar, it's such high quality.
Yes.
And, it's been designed by somebody who's done these things professionally in their own business. And it's just,
another reason to come and visit. Hope to see you.
And then the auditorium as well. We've got real plans for that as well, haven't we?
Yeah, so we've been growing and we've been getting, near enough 80% full. So we've been thinking, do we go to a second meeting? And we're trying to kick that as far down the road as possible.
We've not convinced Leon yet, have we?
No. I guess for us, like the size we are, to go to a second meeting with the number of people we've got would put a huge strain on a few people, on quite a lot of people. So we're trying to kick that down the road.
It'll come, Leon.
I hope it does. But at the moment, the right next step for us is to try and find a creative way of creating more space in the building. So we're going to turn the auditorium around. That's going to give us that extra space so we can maybe grow another 100 people. And I think we'd be better positioned then either to go to a second meeting or to plant even another site somewhere. So really exciting. I think it's not only going to give us space for more people, I think it's going to just change the feel of our meetings as well. So I'm really looking forward to it. So that's going to happen mid-November. So all the work and the central team are planning all that out and getting the contractors ready to go. So looking forward to it.
What's exciting you most, Leon, about all these exciting things you've got going on in Windsor?
I guess for me, it's like when we set out, and what we've always said is, and what I heard lots of leaders say even before I started coming as a pastor, is that we want to be a church that if we cease to exist, the local community would know the difference. Now, I'm not saying we're there yet, but it feels like we're taking good steps towards that. With, when a coffee cafe is up and running, I think that's going to be something. And we've got things like parent and toddler group running, we've got bereavement group running. We're going to look at taking on a CAP coach soon. We feel we've got the right person. I'm really excited about them coming on staff. That's going to help people in the local area get free from debt. Bereavement group, we've got a Cocaine Anonymous group meeting in one of our buildings. So it just feels like we're doing lots of little things, working towards that vision of being a church that if we cease to exist, the local community would really feel it. So that's exciting me. And that's been made possible by just God sending us really gifted, passionate leaders that really got a heart for what we've got a heart for, and just stepping up and taking responsibility.
Yeah.
So that's
really
what's exciting me. Yeah.
Brilliant. And Farnborough.
Yay.
Yeah. Which is 11 years old.
I know.
Yeah. All these birthdays. And Bracknell, which is 143 years old or something like that. We're coming up to 150 in like 7 years' time, I think. So we'll have to have a big party for that. But Farnborough. And, fill us in. What's been going on from what we talked about at the start of the year?
Yeah, loads of exciting stuff. We were really sensed at the start of this year that it was a year for strengthening. We were talking about strengthening the body, strengthening beyond Sundays, and strengthening the building. And actually, as this goes out live on Sunday evening, we're having a building launch gathering with our congregation to share the plans that we've got for our building project. We've got some lovely pictures to show and share, and the designs, the architect's designs, and we're really excited about what we've got to with the plans and what God's going to do. I took over from Heather a couple of years ago, and I know she had coined this phrase, which we've kept. We really believe we want to be a house of God and a house for the people, and a bit like you were saying, Leon, and we're all doing really. We want to be just really present in our community. I was reading a lot about when Jesus was walking the earth, and there's the importance of the synagogue in the local community. It wasn't just a place for people to come and be taught theology, and it was it was the community centre, wasn't it? It was the sports club. It was the place that people went for medical needs, even for all the different needs and help that they needed. And we really have a vision for our building that we want to be open 7 days a week. We've already got some exciting stuff happening through having our own building. You were saying about having the importance of, finding somewhere for midweek. And since we've had that for the last couple of years, it's just transformational in terms of what we can do, in terms of ministry opportunities we can offer, and just opening our doors. So we've got some really exciting stuff happening midweek. But yeah,
Tell us a little bit more about the building project, because obviously by the time this goes out, that's all going to be public. We're going to talk to the site. Just give us a few highlights, and where might people go if they wanted to find out more?
Well, head to the website kerith.church and head to the Farnborough page. You can find we're gonna actually release a recording from our building project launch evening. We're going to record what we share there, so you're going to be able to go and share that, see that as we share that with you, to find out a bit more detail about what's actually happening. But yeah, there's a few things we've been able to add in. Another kids space in the building that we've got. We're going to turn our auditorium on its side as well, and things like that. We're having a nice.
I feel like we need to move our chairs.
We should have done that.
Move your chairs.
We've got a lovely glass-fronted entrance. We've got like an area we really like sense and value, like those spaces outside of like meetings, and the spaces where actually a lot of the ministry takes place in conversation. So we've made sure we prioritise a place in the ground floor, and actually on the first floor a mezzanine area with spaces for kind of cafe and relationship building. Accessibility was a really key value of ours, so we've made sure we've got like lift access, and we've got a changing places room and things like that. And of course we've got a fixed pantry space as well, because that's been really successful over the last few months. So yeah, it's really exciting, and go and have a look at more plans in more detail.
And part of the challenge we have is around fundraising, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it's a phased project, so we're looking at doing it actually in 5 phases, hopefully over the next 5 years.
Yeah.
And how much are we looking to raise in the first phase, Sonia?
Oh, you're testing me now. I think it's in order to do everything we want to do in the first phase, it's just shy of £1 million, isn't it?
950,000.
Something like that. Yeah. £950,000. So if anyone watching has got that spare,
Anyone has? So we want an Oasis tickets. £950,000 for.
Get that the right way round.
The same cost, isn't it?
So that is obviously a lot of money, but we're really believing that God's going to provide. It is a lot of money, but as you've said actually, if you think about the average house price, it's kind of a couple of homes. And so, we're really excited that God is going to provide, and there's going to be loads of different ways that people can get involved in fundraising, from tabletop sales and the kids getting involved in things too. There might be legacies, there might be grant applications we're going to be going for. Everyone's going to have their part to play in it, which is really exciting. However little or however big amount people can contribute, God's going to take us on this exciting faith journey, and we're believing for like miraculous gifts to come in along the way as well. So
I think that's the exciting thing. We're putting ourselves in a place where we need God to show up.
Absolutely.
That money in the natural is not going to come out of our community. And I just feel excited to step into that place where we're going to go, hey, God, here's what we would long to do. We think this is your heart for us, but let's see what we do. Yeah. So I just want to encourage anyone who has a passion to get behind that. People might want to think, hey, I could give a one-off gift, or I could get into regular giving for this. I know, folks who are part of the site here in Bracknell have said to me before, it feels like the previous generation have done it all. They've paid for it all. So maybe somebody who's in Bracknell would like to help fund another place. And, that generosity of vision, that kingdom-mindedness. And I think we're just going to have some really exciting stories over the coming season. And, okay, so let's talk a little bit about Sundays and where we've been. But, as a church, as you said, Leon, we want to be making a difference in our communities. We don't just want to preach the name of Jesus. We want to practically show the love of Jesus. And I'm really excited. God has been growing us in those areas as well. And you touched on the fact that we're going to have, for the very first time, we're going to have a CAP centre in Windsor.
Yeah.
And that's been a heart, really, hasn't it, from the beginning of the site?
Yeah, I think when we spoke to the local churches when we said we were coming, I think it's one of the first things they said to us, because they had heard that Bracknell had debt coaches and the impact that they had. Oh, you're going to have a debt coach come over, and that's something that's been on our heart from the very start. So it's something we've been working towards and praying about. and just really thankful that the money has become available. We're going to take this person on a 1-year contract to begin with, but we're really hoping that it's just going to lead on to more years, and just to grow in that ministry. Again, it's coming under the Revive sort of social justice banner. So I just think, I think the person's going to be a real blessing to our team, but also just seeing the work that we've heard many stories of people that have come both into church and into faith through somebody coming to help them be set free of debt. So we're just really believing for some more of those stories in Windsor and Maidenhead.
Does feel like, doesn't it? We went to the CAP conference back end of last term, and there were a few of us that went, and it was amazing to hear the stories of Lifetime. Like, you just don't realise how powerful that is. And the ripples are, obviously in our community, those ripples have gone through generations, haven't they, of people hearing those stories, of people coming to faith. So we're excited for the same again. It almost feels like, God, do that again in this next generation.
Yeah, I mean, even yesterday was at a funeral for someone who used to work for our CAP Debt Centre, Tim Wheatley, and just hearing stories of what he had done and how he had set people free of debt, and just the impact that he had. So, like we heard, that some people are like pretty much suicidal. And then
people who are alive today who wouldn't have been alive if that hadn't existed.
Yeah, we've got people who are leading our host teams now and other teams that, that's been their journey. And it's just brilliant, isn't it, to see once you get into God's love and into God's community, there's so much healing. I pray for us. We're interviewing for our Bracknell new debt coach on Thursday, so it'll have happened, but just pray for our wisdom on those decision making. So it feels like there's that kind of new thing. Ken's brilliant leading the CAP teams, hasn't he? So
so for quite a while we've had Ken Evans has been overseeing Bracknell and Farnborough, which is just undoable for one person. And actually, once we have this Bracknell person, it'll mean we have Ken in Farnborough, somebody in Bracknell, somebody in Windsor, and actually on the island as well, we support a CAP centre on the island. So actually we'll, for the very first time, have a CAP centre based in all of our sites, which is just such a great place to be. And and Sonia, you touched on the food pantry.
Yes.
In Farnborough. Do you want to just explain a little bit of what a food pantry is? Because it's a bit different to a food bank, isn't it? Where people get vouchers from the local community, and then can come maybe 3 or 4 times. Food pantry is a bit of a different model, isn't it? Yeah.
So I'd say the food bank model is more when someone's in crisis mode, and as you say, they have to have a referral from a different agency. Different agencies give referrals for people to come and access it. The food pantry model is probably like a step up from like crisis mode, like hopefully preventing people from getting into crisis mode, but also helping people out of crisis mode. So it's not means tested. Anyone can become a member. You don't have to pay for membership, but you can use it once a week. And you pay £5, our model, different models differ slightly, but our model, you pay £5, and that gets you probably around £25 to £30 worth of food. So it's not a full weekly shop, but it's that kind of like, you're getting to payday or the day that your benefits might be arriving, in your bank account the day or two before, and, you're opening the cupboards and there's not much there. It's just really great to be able to like come and, get more for your money, really. And they've had so many answers to prayer. We haven't really, Andy Barrett and his team have been leading an amazing team of volunteers. We haven't really advertised it loads, but God's just really blessing it. We've got already 70 people signed up as members, and without really sharing it too loudly. The newly installed Rushmore Mayor found out about it and wanted to make it one of her charities this year. And they've had moments, like we were talking about the building project generally, where we've been praying, asking for God for his provision. There've been some days they were struggling to get involved in a food network, but thankfully now they're involved with Food Share. But there've been some mornings where they were like, I don't know if we've got enough on the shelves for the people that might come through the doors. God, it's manna from heaven time. We need you to show up. And I know there was one story where that very morning someone turned up, not just with a few bags of donations, but 2 cars packed full of food. They're like replenished all the stock and more. So it's been really exciting to see how that's been blessing people.
That's so cool. Yeah, really, really exciting. And just this morning, we met a lady who's been employed via a grant, didn't we? Who's from Citizens Advice, who was going to sit in our food bank in Bracknell here. every day. And that's just a really exciting development, isn't it?
So great, like signposting is so, she was saying to me this morning, there's so much out there people don't know about. If they can come and see me, I can signpost them. That it just empowers them to then, I'm like, you're brilliant, please. Like, can we send you loads of people out? No, they have to have a Foodbank voucher. And Liz, our Foodbank manager, is brilliant. She says, no, Becky, don't break the system. They have to have a voucher. So I'm like, oh, okay. So we're going to get as many vouchers as we can to people so that we can get them in to seeing this wonderful girl who, as you say, just arrived this morning and God's kind of provision for us.
Yeah, and she's not a Christian and was there in the midst of us all praying for one another and worshipping and just soaking it up and just thinking, God, bring it on. We'll just see how you move and work through this.
Really good.
Yeah, I'm just loving that across all of our sites, those connections, the things that God is doing in terms of us being a blessing, like you say, Leon, being a church that if we cease to exist, the community really would notice. If people didn't see it, there was a brilliant BBC Berkshire video this week or a story around a guy who'd come into Foodbank and really found hope and is now one of the volunteers. And soon this morning, I think big BBC are going to come soon and do a story as well, apparently.
Right. And the MP, our new MP, came the other day. So much happens in Foodbank. We're afterwards like, oh, wow, this week in Foodbank, these amazing things happen. And the cafe started again, just an encouragement for you with your, just leaning into that cafe culture. The guys started again on Tuesday and it was just full again of people who are just haven't had that community over the summer and needed it again. And Lisa and her team do such a brilliant job. I mean, it's fun. There's crazy stuff. There's like bingo, or whenever I walk in there's something fun going on. But yeah, that opportunity. I know Sarah's heart, our team, is to what does it look like for maybe to do a Friday space that's more of a church, but how does church in a cafe culture, what does that look like? So God's like, really great.
Brilliant. So one of the other things we've touched on a few times is the whole intergenerational piece. And I know for you that's been a huge part of the move. Centrally, it isn't just about us being, more accessible for everyone, but actually it's that there's a lot more teenagers, young adults in that area. Do you want to just talk a bit about that and your heart for that growing?
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, I know when I was growing up, when I was a teenager, just feeling frustrated that there weren't more of my age group in church. And, I'd invite my friends and they'd come along and then not come back again for whatever reason. And, when you look at church demographics today, you see that there's really a couple of missing generations generally across the UK, which would be like the sort of teenagers and young adults. And for me, I guess that's a big part of my heart and vision for us as a church, is to see us become a church that all ages love to be part of, but particularly like youth and young adults, because they so often seem to struggle to find a home in church. And so, I guess that's part of our heart within the move, is being in a place that, all ages can come to, in a place that youth and young adults are, there's lots of them around. We can easily reach out to them, that they can come and easily find a home with us as well. And, I guess ever since we've launched, we've always been quite an intergenerational sort of church. Like, we've always had like kids in the meetings quite regularly, if not most weeks. At the moment we run the kids groups fortnightly, and youth is going to be sort of 1 in 4 for the moment. So the other weeks they're sort of in the mix, and it causes some chaos and some noise, and we love it. It's okay. We can cope with that. But we just love being family together, being church that is, like you say, intergenerational. Like you were saying, having like teenagers like serving. We've had that all the way through as part of our story, really. And they're just such a blessing. It's such an amazing part of being family together, is doing life, doing church together, being church, all ages doing it together. So I love it. It's good.
We've kind of been looking at these guys, haven't we? And the way that you've been getting the kids involved in meetings and having to have the kids in meetings, being like, okay, how do we restructure, take the kids? We've just got this funny thing with the buildings being so separate. So it felt like the families and the kids were heading over to K2, and we were adults in the adult meeting, and it felt very like adults, kids. And so we shook it up. Everyone's like, what's the plan? What's going on? We're trying to email everyone, but just getting the kids in with us to start the worship off again. And we've had 2 weeks.
Yeah, and it's beautiful watching them, the kids worship, because they come to the front, they take their shakers and tambourines, and it's noisy, but it's great, because just watching them actually encourages us to worship too. So it's beautiful. You're there smiling because you see them running across, parents running after their children and everything, but it's really beautiful. And I know that Sonia, for you as well. You've pretty much had this running as well, because once upon a time you were also the families coordinator across our site. So how's that been like in Farnborough too?
Yeah, we've I love the kind of culture that we have in Farnborough, and I think we probably all have these of all generations together. I think it's probably easier for us, like you said, your buildings over the car park. It's easier. You have to be more intentional with it. But we've got a great team of people who just love children and young people who are serving. But the last year or so, we've been without a youth coordinator, and now we're without a kids coordinator. So for us in Farnborough, like that space does create a space for more people to kind of go, hey, we're going to own this, because it can never be just one person, can it?
Yeah,
We need
right.
teams of people to love these generations. And we have got an amazing team of people doing that for both children and young people. But yeah, it's really key for us to find someone. It might be one person that does both of those things, to find someone to lead us into the next stage with that, because we've had a great, like Millie and Joe Phillips, who's now Joe Ferrier. She's just got married. We had them leading on kids and youth, and they've both been fantastic. But they've moved on, and now we need that person who's going to be like, okay, not just the children that are coming already and young people that are coming already, but actually how do we reach these generations wider in Farnborough? There's so much stuff we could do with schools and after school stuff, holiday stuff. So exciting.
Rebecca, you're seeing some of the stuff around prayer spaces and schools.
Yeah, we've been, Joe Foster, who's obviously our kids lead across all the sites, and has been doing some amazing work with a team here on Caroline Hambury and the team been running prayer spaces in schools. So 24/7 prayer do this brilliant, give you a load of resources to do kind of stations that you can do within the school environment. And they've been in a few schools over this last year and just seen incredible results. I mean, you were in a school, weren't you, where they'd been working, and just the openness there.
That's incredible.
The teachers.
Yeah, just to watch what happens. And we had the privilege of going to the school actually where, really sadly, one of the children had passed away.
Yeah.
And they invited us in to create a space where actually the kids could grieve
Yeah.
and mourn. And it was one of the most, it's the most I've ever encountered the presence of God in a context outside of a sort of church meeting. You know, that God was just in the corridors and in the classrooms, and, you know, just something really moving, and watching these kids just, you know, most of whom aren't from a faith background, but really pressing into what God was doing. And yeah, just love watching what those teams are doing, and then like TLG involvement as well, which is now
happening in Windsor.
doing an intervention with children in schools, and happening in Bracknell as well. It's just so brilliant to see.
It does feel, doesn't it, like God is kind of on the move in those spaces with us as a team, and also in the kids. Our 4 p.m, we did the prayer spaces at the end of the summer term. Loads of dads that come along that aren't saved, coming into the space, just walking around with their kids. The kids were the most engaged they've ever been. I was like, this is going to be a train wreck, prayer spaces with 2-year-olds. And they were brilliant. And it was just amazing to see. And all of us were like, just God was in this so powerfully, because it was such a sense of peace. One dad at the end said, I'd like to come and get baptised. So he's getting baptised next week. You're just like, wow, like what's God doing? So there does seem to be, I mean, this connection with 24/7 in that way, like they're teaching us stuff, but the team is, so Joe is really excited about what God's doing for the young people. So if you want to get excited, go speak to Joe Foster.
That's
It's really good.
It's great hearing all this stuff as well, like within schools. Like for us, obviously, going to be starting meeting in a school for the first time. I'm really excited, like to see, you know, how that relationship grows with the school, and see, you know, how we can work together and how we can best serve them. You know, what that might look like into the future, I don't know, but I love the sound of like some of those sorts of things that you guys are talking about.
I think schools have been so open, like it's been amazing. So it's good.
And just picking up on that 24/7 link, obviously a bunch of us went to Wildfires recently, and I think for me, it was probably one of the most impactful one, if not the most impactful one we've been to. I don't know if anyone's got any reflections on.
How was camping, Leon?
Yeah, my reflection is I had a better night's sleep. That was good.
Liam didn't camp.
I didn't camp out. We were in our little camper.
In your
van.
camper
And I think I swapped out, because all the other years I'd always been in an Airbnb, but this was my first time camping.
He's still alive.
And I'll do it again.
No.
Yeah. Other than that,
For me, it's always it's always good to hear like and feel that you're part of what God's doing in the nation.
Yeah.
And just when you're hearing these talks and you're hearing all these different things that are going on and across all the churches in the nation, you just get a sense that we're part of this, what God's doing. And for me, just getting that perspective and hearing obviously amazing talkers like Jackie Pullinger, R.T. Kendall, amazing. And just worshipping in that bigger setting with thousands of other people, which is always worth the camping.
Especially if you haven't camped.
Especially if you haven't camped. But if you've camped for the last 5 years, enjoy
7 years Jubilee, actually. No, it is good though, isn't it? Yeah. It felt like our village tent has become a real home for people to meet again, like these other churches that have joined us over the years. And now we're part of this 24/7 prayer tent. So then everyone is kind of there for a reason, but amazing different. I had a brilliant conversation while we were cooking with a couple who led a house church that God just did amazing things through prayer with them. And it was just such an amazing testimony. And as we were cooking, I was learning this amazing testimony. I thought, oh, what a privilege. And that was just in obviously that space.
Yeah.
It's great as a mum as well to be there with my kids and to...
Because your daughter took a friend, didn't she?
Yeah. One of my children my daughter took her friend from school who's not churched. She believed that God is real, but doesn't have any kind of living faith or has never experienced that. And she's kind of left Wildfires kind of saying, okay, I've realised there's a God that loves me and that he cares about me. And when stuff's going on in my life, as there is in teenagers and all of our lives, I can pray to him rather than worry about this stuff. I can go to him, I can talk to him. So they've been having great conversations post Wildfires and hearing the stories that come out of the youth venues and the children's venues. Again, talk to Joe Foster about the children's venue, the presence of the Spirit in those spaces. And like we drove away and the first thing our kids say is, can we go back again next time? And we had just ditched our tent because it was leaking all weekend. So I need a new tent.
There was a bit of a tent graveyard after the weather on that Friday, Saturday. So there's quite a lot of tents that didn't survive the journey home.
It's so good.
But I think that sense that God is doing a bigger thing was something that R.T. Kendall said. So R.T. Kendall's this guy who led Westminster Chapel in London. He's 89 now. And but he spoke about, he's praying that he lives to see the move of God which is coming. He's utterly convinced there's a move of God coming. He doesn't know what it's going to look like. He says, that's above my pay grade, but he's confident of it. And I think, all the stuff we've talked about, you just sense that God is on the move. But I think for us as a community to be plugged into that bigger thing. And I did love this, we are exploring this idea of whether we would be part of a bigger sort of 24/7 prayer community of churches in England. And one of the wonderful things we said, like Becky said, was that we actually hosted a bunch of those churches. And there were just some wonderful stories.
Yeah, it's great.
A couple from Cornwall who were leading a church, a whole bunch of people from Exeter, beautiful couple from Shrewsbury who brought a bunch of lads from
brilliant young people.
Working class lads from a housing estate who'd never been to anything like that before. And they were really worried about how these lads were going to be, whether they were going to misbehave. And, they were just wonderful. By the end of the weekend, they'd all made commitments to Christ.
They were the best servers on my barbecue team, honestly. I said, come back again, kids. One of them was a trainee chef, so he's so proud of himself. I gave him the authority of doing the bain-maries, and it was just great to watch him come alive. Yeah.
And I was, just a couple of beautiful stories from them. There was a moment, one of the lads, who's off this council estate, came and said, "Oh, could you get me a glass of milk?" That's a really simple thing. And one of our team just said, "Hey, just go to the fridge and help yourself." And he looked at them in amazement of would you trust me to do that? Because obviously he's in a space where nobody really trusts him and nobody puts. And there was a table where everyone could go and charge their mobile phones. And these lads were like, "Can we leave our phones? Will they still be there?" And you think, we take some of this stuff for granted, but for them, they're just stepping into a completely different culture. And the change that brings is just amazing to watch. I was chatting with the couple who lead the church yesterday, and they were just saying what God's done in these lads is amazing. As they've gone back to their situations and are working out now what it looks like to be a Christian in their, often chaotic homes. And so, just want to encourage folks, next year, Wildfires is moving to the end of July, so hopefully it will be warmer. Sadly, it's in the middle of term for the Isle of Wight, which I'm absolutely gutted by. So we'll try and get that fixed for the year after. But come and join us. We would love to have a bigger crowd next year and see what God does there. Okay, so just as we come to land, we know that, we talked about a lot of stuff and activity, but we know that prayer is, the key to revival. Paul Yonggi Cho taught us that years back. And if people could be praying, and there was one thing they could pray for like each of our sites, what would that thing? Then I'll share something that I would be praying for, and then we'll finish. So, yeah, Liam, why don't you start? What would you be praying for?
I guess one of the big things happening is the change of the auditorium, the switch around. So I know it's a practical thing and lots of work's got to go into it, but I just think it's going to be really key for us in this next season. So just praying and that all goes to plan, whether it's the contractors coming in on time and getting the work done on time, and just all coming in under cost for the money we've got to do it. I just think it's going to be really key for our growth and reaching more people.
And these things are really important, aren't they? Because it's not just about the numbers, it's about actually that will create a different spiritual atmosphere in the room. Just people being that much closer and more intimate. And cool. We can be praying for that.
That's great.
You too.
For us?
Yeah, so we keep on saying that we want to be creating space for healthy growth. And what that really translates to is that how we continue to grow as a community together, how we grow through serving, and how we just continue to grow space so that just like when we move to these 2 meetings, what we've really done is that we've created more seating arrangements so that people can invite their family and friends to come along. So if you could be praying for us so that we continue to do that within the community, just to really continue to create that space for healthy growth in all these ways, in our small groups, not just on the Sundays, and the various ways that we meet, all through the week. So we'd love that.
Yeah, I think that's space of like, now let's get on with the growing. Like we've created space, so let's get growing in our, learn new leaders stepping up, the kids now, everyone getting stuck in. So it's like, let's get growing. Yeah.
And I think I'd just add that, whenever we create space, God fills it.
Yeah.
We've seen that across our communities. Sonia?
Well, I was being a bit cheeky, thinking, how can I sneak in 2 here? But God's provision. We just need to pray that ask Him to provide, and underneath that umbrella, obviously the building project, provide in terms of pounds, but provide in terms of people as well. This is a key role for this kids and youth. We're looking at rewriting a job role for that at the moment. So so God's provision kind of says it all. I won't say too much.
Money for the building.
Money for the building and kids and youth in His provision.
It's great.
You know?
Yeah, I think for us, I might sneak 2 in as well. Like the relationship with the school, like just how we, and like settling in there practically on Sundays, but also like just getting to know the school and building that relationship with them. And I think similar to Bracknell, the other thing is like, we're creating the space for growth. We're being in a place where, we want to be able to reach people on our own front lines, wherever we are, in that, as we're scattered, being able to then invite people to gather with us. And so I guess that, that we would see that people would be inviting their friends, families, neighbours, colleagues, all of that. And then we'd see people, coming in to church and encountering Jesus. And that's the heart of it all, isn't it, really?
Cool. Seeing as these guys had 2, do either of you want to add another one?
Could add another 10, but
Yeah.
better not do.
The Oasis tickets.
Don't forget about the Oasis tickets.
Cool. And I think for me, looking across the whole thing, it will probably be around our finances. And, just that God continues to provide all the resources that we need financially. And I certainly feel some of the weight of that. Just as we're seeing this growth, we would also see our regular giving increase. One of my prayers that would be, grow to be over £100,000 a month. And then one-off gifts. We have a history of one-off gifts, and we would see some of those come in. We once had someone give £1 million in a legacy, and that would be handy at the moment.
That would be handy. Sonia's got dibs on that.
We might have to think how we share that. Hey guys, well, it's been brilliant hearing. I hope for everyone who watches this online, this has been really helpful. I've just found it inspiring, just hearing again what God is doing across our sites. And I just want to encourage you to think how you can play your part. Get to physical sites on a Sunday. Prioritise being with the people of God, Sunday by Sunday by Sunday. Prioritise being in a small group community where you can really build relationships and friendships. Get involved, get serving, and get involved in giving financially into the life of the church. And be praying. We want to undergird and cover all of that we're doing in prayer. You've heard a few of the prayer requests here, but there are so many more things we need to be praying. Be praying for yourself, be praying for your family, be praying for your workplace and your friends and relatives and neighbours that they might find Christ, and be praying for God's blessing. You know, we can never produce the wind. God blows his wind, and we just have to set our sails in order to try and catch that wind. And that's what we're doing with all our heart. It's trying to position ourselves to catch the winds of the Spirit that God is blowing. And that takes every one of us to play our part and do what we can do. So thank you, guys. This has been so much fun.
Yes.
I've really enjoyed this. And yeah, we'll catch you again in January. So yeah, great to have you with us. God bless you, and hope to see you soon.